Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Hello, I'm Sally Andreu. I'm Skills Hub Manager at Oxlep, and welcome to the Kickstart Support for Employers. Here at Oxlep, we recognise that the skills landscape is really busy and can be very difficult for businesses to navigate. With this in mind, this webinar has been designed to provide you with an understanding of further developments of the new Skills Kickstart programme. We will hear from two gateway organisations and how they are supporting employers who are able to offer less than 30 placements. Joining us for this lunchtime webinar is James Gilpin and John Wood, who are overseeing the delivery of Kickstart across Oxfordshire Department of Works and Pensions. We've got Mark Figo, who's actually Engineering Trust Training CEO, and also Emily Clayton, Recruitment Advisor at Aspire, here to talk about their offer as gateway organisations. Thank you, Katie. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. So the webinar format is please use the chat box to raise hands and ask questions. We'll have a bit of a Q&A at the end. Mics and webcams are switched off. It's going to be about a 30 minutes presentation and a 15-minute Q&A. The session will be recorded and it will be available via our YouTube channel. The slides will also be circulated afterwards. Handouts are available. If you look on the sidebar, there's some information about our Skills for Business programme and workshops that we've got free to SMEs, and that is under 249 employees. And there will be a quick survey at the end. We'll be really grateful to hear your thoughts as to the value of today's lunchtime webinar and what you might want to be hearing from us in the future. Next slide, please, Katie. So I'd like to welcome John Woods from Department of Works and Pensions to really give us a quick update on Kickstart. It has developed. We gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and actually the programme has moved on. So they're going to give us a quick update as to how it's developed and what are the new requirements for businesses. So John, over to you.
Thanks, Sally. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great. I'll start. I'll go through the slides. Apologies, we're going a bit blind here because we're on the telephone. We can't see what screens you can see, but we'll try our best to keep up, myself and James. So the first slide. Thanks, Katie. It should say what is Kickstart and who is it for?
Yes, it does.
Brilliant, thank you. So overview, very quickly, as people probably already know, £2 billion put over for hundreds of thousands of young people's work placements to give people a better prospect of getting a job, but also to help employers innovate and bounce back from the coronavirus situation. So these are real jobs. These have to be real jobs within companies, within organisations funded by a government grant, and to deliver work experience, work skills, employability skills, all sorts of things like that to support people, young people into work, CV, job search, interviews, and those sorts of skills brought in by their employment experience. The idea is that these are going to run until, well, really till June 2022. So I think the final applications should be around December 2021. So we've still got plenty of time for people to apply and to put in their placements. These Kickstart jobs must be new jobs, minimum 25 hours a week, and for a 6-month placement, and must pay at least the national minimum wage. Some employers have asked, can we pay more? Well, yes, indeed you can. That's not a problem. It's just, you know, what we can cover in our payments is the national minimum wage. and those jobs must only require basic training, so they don't have to undergo vast amounts of training to be able to do the job. Important thing is that they must not replace existing or planned jobs, or cause any employees or apprentices or contractors to lose their work for sort of obvious reasons. What do you get? It says there there's actually a £1,500 setup fee, and there's also £300 admin costs, which is would be paid also to the Gateway organisation. So this is where smaller employers come together with less than 30 placements in order to work with a Gateway organisation that can pool all the employees together and therefore have 30 or more placements. So that's the £1,500 is essentially about the sorts of support and training that can be provided, and it can be used for the admin of the job, of the work placement, and so on. On top of that, there's also the 100% applicable national minimum wage, national insurance contributions, and the employer minimum pension automatic enrolment contributions as well. Again, it's the minimum amount. If you as an employer pay more than that for a pension, then that's fine, but we will only cover the minimum payment. The reimbursement of the actual payment of £1,500 and the £300 is made when the placement is actually taken up. So that's very soon afterwards. And that would be paid to the Gateway organisation if we're talking about small, medium-sized employers, and that would then be distributed by the Gateway organisation after that to the employer themselves. The national minimum wage payments are then paid actually now. This has changed slightly from what previously was going to happen, but the reimbursement of those payments will be every month in arrears. So from as soon as they've completed their first month, the payment would be made, and then 5 more payments after that until they've completed the 6 months. Let's see. Eligibility for the placements: 16 to 24 years old, claiming universal credit. Generally, people who are disadvantaged at risk of long-term worklessness, but they still need to be job ready. And I think James will probably talk a bit more about some of the work that we will do to prepare people for these roles. But and obviously currently unemployed, we will identify them. The Job Centre Plus will identify the candidates, and we'll put them forward and refer them. Okay, so next slide, please, Katie. Yeah, are we there? Yeah.
We're there, thanks, John.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thanks. Sorry. So just really to say, just very quickly, those 4 points there: innovate, rebuild, engage, support. So your businesses can use Kickstart roles to benefit new ways of working with new people, people you might not have employed before, bringing new experiences and new innovative thoughts and so on to your business. Rebuilding following the coronavirus, opportunities to start rebuilding the business. Engaging, as I said, opening up to candidates, diversity and a range of backgrounds, and ability maybe to grow HR capacity and manage different people, perhaps care leavers, people with different availabilities for employment, so on. So, and it's also about supporting, it's about corporate social responsibility as well, and helping create opportunities for disadvantaged young people. So yeah, so that's that. I'll hand you on to James now.
Thanks, John. So if we move over to the next slide, that should be headed up application considerations.
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. So any organisation, however constituted, can apply for a grant and to become involved in Kickstart, but there are some key criteria that you're going to have to meet. There's a decision to be made there about whether you're going to be an employer, a gateway, or an organisation that needs to find a gateway, and that is all around the number of vacancies that you've got to post. If you have 30 or more, you're going to go in as a direct employer, and you just load your offer straight onto the system. If you have fewer than 30 Kickstart jobs that you can offer, then you're going to need to find yourself a gateway organisation, and then the third route is to be a gateway organisation who will then post and manage payments on behalf of employers who have smaller number of vacancies. And we're going to be hearing from our two gateway organisations after this part of the presentation. In order to help you, if you're a smaller employer, smaller number of vacancies, from the end of October, there was a new tool that went on to gov.uk, and I've got it referred to here under Become a Gateway, Find a Gateway. It just allows you to select a gateway organisation or find a list of gateway suggestions that you might want to engage with. You're able to pick an employment sector if you want to find somebody who is working in the same sector as your business, or you can search by postcode, county, country, without even selecting a sector to get a list of suggestions. Gateway organisations must be able to show that they have experience in managing partnership agreements with third parties and robust financial and governance processes. Gateway organisations start the process off by sending an email to kickstart.interest@dwp.gov.uk. That gets them onto the list and shows that they have an intent to participate, but that's only the first step. They then have to go through the due diligence that all organisations do in order to be accepted onto the scheme. And again, our guest gateway speakers will be able to tell you about their experiences there. I think it's really important to focus on some of the areas where applications from employers' gateways and employer feeders have fallen down. So you're likely to have your bid declined if you aren't able to show that the jobs are clearly additional and don't replace any existing or previously planned vacancies. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. If you haven't really gone into enough detail about the employability support for the participants, so as John said, there's the job aspect of it, doing the job, there's the skills for the job aspect, and then there's the employability skills that you need to be delivering as well. So making sure that your participants in the Kickstart can then effectively apply for and move on to other jobs after the Kickstart vacancy. If you don't provide enough detailed organisational information, and again, I'll sort of touch on some of the kind of key questions that are going to be asked, then you aren't going to pass the spotlight checks that go on behind the scenes to confirm that you are a suitable organisation to deliver Kickstart. And along a similar vein, organisations who can't show a sufficient track record of fiscal competence or aren't of a sufficient size or structure to deliver the placements, and particularly here, any organisation that's been trading for fewer than 12 months will not be accepted onto the initiative. So let's have a think about some of the details. And again, all of this is on the gov.uk website with the Kickstart details, but just to sort of, drill down to some of the information you need to provide. You're going to have to provide a company's house reference number, or if you're a charity commission number. Office of Scottish Charity Regulator numbers will also be accepted. Those organisations in the public sector and exempt charities can have the option to enter 0 there and then move on to complete the next phase of the submission. You also need to provide company address and contact details. So that will be helping sort of the spotlight checks. Now, you're going to be asked to provide detail on, and this is where the due diligence really gets its teeth into your offer. So how many employees have you got in your organisation? there's going to be a set of questions that are really focusing on workforce changes that your organisation has experienced in the 6 months prior to your application. So they're going to ask you to explain changes to your workforce, like redundancies or changes to hours worked, the number of staff who might have been affected by any workforce changes, the kinds of roles and functions and average salary of those who might have been made redundant or have to work reduced hours over the last 6 months, and any recruitment activity that's been started, completed or paused, with a particular focus on any similarity to the roles that have had that impact in comparison to what you're proposing in your Kickstart job offer. So in a nutshell, we want to make sure that there is very clear water between what you're proposing in your Kickstart job offer and any recent staffing changes that have been forced upon you by sort of company activity or the coronavirus. They're also going to ask you to demonstrate whether the jobs could have been created without the Kickstart scheme funding, and if so, what funding you'd have used. How about, have you had those conversations with your trade unions, and what did they say about your proposal to offer a Kickstart placement? And ultimately, your full job offer detailing the location and the application process. The actual job specification will come at a later date, but really we need to make sure that you are clear on what the job is, what it entails, where it's going to be based, and how you're going to manage the application. And of course, as I said, that other part of the placement is around the employability support that you're offering, when it's delivered, how long it'll take, who will be providing it, how the delivery will be monitored, and how the young person, the participant, can provide feedback during and after the placement, and how you'll act on it. I think it's worth sort of giving another heads up about another recent addition to the gov.uk website. On the 30th of October, the Kickstart grant funding agreement terms and conditions were published on gov.uk with the full contractual details. So it's definitely worth you taking some time to have a look through that to see in detail what is expected and what you're signing up to. So if you can move on to the next slide, please.
Yeah, it's there.
Thank you. So this is just a quick overview of the process, and again, you can see the references on the slide here. The process step by step is on the gov.uk, but broadly speaking, the process is similar whichever route you take, whether you're a direct employer, a gateway, or a client employer. So a direct employer will follow the link that you see here to provide information about your organisation and confirm that your vacancies are compliant. The DWP central team will do that due diligence spotlight check behind the scenes and on your organisation and the proposal and the detail that you've supplied about how the vacancy has come to be. They're aiming to email you a decision about whether or not that your offer is acceptable within a month. I mean, things have been sort of 4 to 6 weeks, but they are adding more staff to the central team, so they are beginning to catch up now. So the wait should be reducing. So that email decision will confirm whether or not you're getting the grant award. If you aren't awarded the grant, I'm afraid that you won't get any more details. So all it will say is that those 4 areas that I talked about as the areas where things have gone wrong apply to your bid, and they won't enter into any conversation about the specifics about where your bid has failed. If you haven't been awarded it, you can go back, have a rethink, see if you can add some more information and reapply. So it's not a once and done process. If you feel that you can add enough information to get yourself through the process, please do have another go. If you are awarded, then you're going to be sent the grant letter, and that needs to be signed off by yourselves and returned. And then it's after that point that you'll be supplying the job detail, and then the jobs will be loaded according to when you state that you want the job to start. Gateway organisations are, as I said, our gateway organisations will be able to explain how they've applied and the process they've gone through, so I'm not going to go through any of that right now. So moving on to a client employer. So if you are someone who is feeding into a gateway organisation, as I mentioned, there's that Find a Gateway tool. So use that to identify one or more gateway organisations to have a discussion with about your plans and your offer. You'll be able to have a discussion with them as well about any additional services that the gateway offers. Some of them do offer additional elements, and I think that Emily will be able to sort of give you an overview of what Aspire Oxford are doing there, and any additional offer, there may be a charge for it, and that's down to you to agree with the gateway organisation. Then again, using the link there, you'll be able to see in detail that list of information that you're going to have to supply your gateway partner so that they can pull that together into their bid. And the gateway organisation does a bit of due diligence, aggregates your jobs with those of other employers, and then submits the grant application, which they'll then administer as and when it's agreed, with any payments to you as soon as the jobs start. Always a really good idea to keep in touch with your gateway organisation for confirmation about whether and when their grant's been agreed, so you know where they stand and whether the decision's been made yet. And again, here, if the award isn't agreed, the gateway organisation can amend and resubmit their grant bid. And you, as a client employer, can always approach an alternative gateway organisation. So you do have that option. If you feel that you're not making sufficient progress with the gateway that you've started out with. So really, to summarise that section, you are providing assurance about the job in the application process. It's more generic information about your plans, the detail about how the vacancy has come to pass, and that this is a genuine vacancy that you've fully thought through and you're able to supply the backup support for. And then the actual job description gets added after the grant has been awarded. So, John, are you going to take on from the next slide about what happens next?
Yeah, just very, very, very quickly. The next slide, please. So what happens next? The jobs will be loaded centrally onto our Universal Credit platform. We're engaging with the candidates. So we already have a number of people in Oxfordshire that we have lined up for these opportunities. And then the matching and selecting is about the sorts of minimum requirements that you have within your job placements and how appropriate they would be. So that's all done by the work coach, and then the person is referred. They're asked to complete the application and go from there. So the actual numbers per placement are limited by the employer themselves. So once we've referred enough people, we're not able to refer any more. So that's all controlled and limited. So then the employer can then take over and do their selection process. And then after that, as I said, progression. We want to try to move people on into the area of possibly apprenticeships. These jobs could change into apprenticeships or actual full jobs. So that's what we're aiming for. So very quickly finish that off, and thank you very much. I think onto the Q&A. Onto the next section.
Thanks, John, and James, for that. Like I say, please use the chat bar if you've got any questions, and we'll try at the end to then answer some of those. I'm delighted to welcome Mark Vingo, who is the Chief Exec of Engineering Trust, to talk about how you're working as a gateway organisation. Mark, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. So Engineering Trust, we are primarily an independent training provider delivering apprenticeships in engineering and manufacturing companies, but we are now involved as a Kickstart gateway organisation as well. Next slide, please, Katie. Just as an overview, I think the guys at DWP have covered a lot of this, but we cover off, we bring together businesses to hit that threshold of 30 job placements in order to put an application in for the Kickstart grant. we pull together those placements on behalf of all of the different businesses we work with, submit the application to DWP. We manage the success or rejection of that application, and then manage the distribution of funds as well. Plus, we can get involved in other areas as well, which I'll come on to in a second. Next slide, please, Katie. So who are gateway organisations? We're a bit of a mix, really. As I say, we're primarily an independent training provider delivering apprenticeships. There will be all different types of organisations out there. As the DWP said, they've split us into geographical area, and then into sector type. That has been done. However, you aren't limited to going with an organisation either in your geographical area or an organisation that is specific to your sector. You can go with whoever you feel is the best fit for you. There is a positives to going with someone local to you and in your sector, in case you do want to progress that person into an apprenticeship or progress that person onto another form of training. You're already working with a company that's local to you and that can possibly help you in that. So there are benefits to going with someone that is both local to you and in your sector already, but it isn't something you have to do. Why do gateway organisations work? Why are gateway organisations doing this? Well, from our point of view, it was a good opportunity to get involved with young people, hopefully prior to them doing an apprenticeship. So we're doing it from that point of view. Each organisation will have its motivations as to why they put themselves forward for a gateway organisation, and that is something that I would, as a business, sort of test with a gateway organisation just to understand their real reasoning behind getting involved with Kickstart. £300 per placement. There's an awful lot of work to do for that. So again, you might just want to check the motivations behind the gateway organisation being involved. As I say, ours is to hopefully be involved with these young people as they move into apprenticeships or something else, other form of training. But each gateway organisation will have its own motivations, and it's worth understanding that before you choose to work with them on this project. Next slide, please, Katie. Each of us, each of the gateway organisations, we all have our own approach to this. As John or James mentioned, we will be helping you pull together all of the information we need in order to make that application. How we pull that information together from you is unique to us. So from my point of view, I have an online form that I get the business to fill in to give us all that information and tease out all of that information about whether the job is a new job or not, and whether it's replacing anyone and that sort of thing. But each organisation will have its own method of doing that. Some of the gateway organisations will offer additional services. From my point of view, we offer some additional online training courses and things, but these are optional, and I would be suspicious of anyone that tells you that your £1,500 grant is a compulsory spend with them. That £1,500 grant is for you to use to set up the scheme and to spend on what you see will add value to your placement and help you deliver that placement. So any gateway organisation that says that £1,500 is a compulsory spend with them should be viewed with some suspicion. As I say, we do offer some additional training services, but that is an optional spend. I know Emily with Aspire, they offer some other services as well, but again, you should just understand what your gateway organisation offers before agreeing to go with them. Each gateway organisation will assess your placement. So we're obviously putting together a number of different placements with a number of different businesses, and we then put them together to form one application into the DWP. If one of those placements fails the tests that the DWP do, the whole application fails. So it's within our interest, and it's down to us to make sure we assess the placements as you submit them to us, and make sure that they're going to pass those criteria that are in place surrounding bringing on a Kickstart placement. Our next step, we will distribute all the funding. So all the funding will come through us. The £1,500 grant will come through us, and then the wages each month for the placement will come through us as well. So as John or James said, they've changed this recently in that the placement the wages for these placements will come monthly after that initial period, but they will come through us as a gateway organisation. We also then have a duty to monitor the delivery and the success of each of the placements. So we would want to know if the person's getting on okay, if they're attending, if for any reason they've stopped or changed their arrangements with you. We would want to know that so we can manage that funding and manage that application moving forward. Next slide, please, Katie. So the when is, we're all moving at different speeds. We as an organisation are moving very slowly. We're yet to actually put in our first application. We're still pulling together all of the placements. I think that's something to do with our sector and the type of businesses that we are working with. This is something, Kickstart is something that they're just working out how they can fit that into their business. I know Emily, who will talk to you in a minute from Aspire, they're moving a lot quicker. So I think we're on to their second application already. So different organisations move at different speeds, and that's something else you want to check with your gateway organisation as you start to engage with them is how quickly are they moving and where in the cycle are they. Once they've put in one application of 30, they have to then pull together another 30 applications before they can put it into the DWP again for a second round. So you want to understand where they are in their cycle and understand how quickly you want to move, because it might dictate whether you want to go with that gateway organisation or find another one that's moving faster or slower than you want to. And as I say, once we hit that threshold, we put the application in, and then we have to start again from pulling together placements up to the 30. As John said, the DWP are on about a 4 to 6 week turnaround then. So once that application goes in with your placement, you've got a bit of a wait to find out whether that application has been successful or not, before you can actually then start the process of finding the person to fill the placement. Next slide, please, Katie. And now over to Emily at Aspire.
Thank you, Mark. Great. Yeah. So, hi everybody. I'm Emily. I'm the social recruitment lead at Aspire. I think Mark's done a really good overview actually about the process. So I think for my talk, I'll probably give a little bit of an overview about Aspire and how we've been working with employers to date. Next slide, please, Katie. Oh, thank you. So for those that don't know Aspire, in a nutshell, basically, we're an employment charity, an award-winning employment charity. We've been running for about 18 years. Our main building's positioned in the heart of Oxford, but we also, in the last 2 to 3 years, have started to expand our geographical areas. So we're going out, so we cover Oxfordshire, Berkshire, Reading, Slough, High Wycombe, Aylesbury and Milton Keynes. So in terms of the Kickstart scheme, obviously we registered to cover those areas, but as Mark has said, even if you're out of those areas, you can still obviously link in with gateway organisations that don't cover necessarily based in those areas. In terms of our charity, we run a successful trading subsidiary arm to our charity. Our long-standing enterprise has been our grounds maintenance and property services and recycling offers to employers, which generates money back into our charity, but also gives real work experience to those participants of our charity that we support to become work ready. And I think DWP have mentioned about any candidates that will be applying for vacancies with the Kickstart, they need to be at a level of being work ready. Next slide, please. In terms of our employment charity, so, oh, apologies, that's got a click thing. I forgot I'd done that. In terms of Aspire, we support over about 10 different pathways, which cover homelessness, ex-offender, drug and alcohol pathway, mental health, refugee, ex-military. But one of our largest and most successful projects actually is our young people's project, which is called Unlocking Potential. So in terms of why we've registered, obviously we're an employment charity, but it's our bread and butter, but also we invest a lot of time in supporting young people. So there is obviously our motivation. Mark talked about why our motivation. So this is pretty essentially what we do at Aspire. Just in a nutshell, our Young People's Project, it supports 17 to 21-year-olds, and you have to be not in education, employment or training for 6 months or more to be eligible to enter into Aspire and have an allocated support worker. I think at the moment our projects across the Young People's work is about 80 people we support at one time, with access to almost 1,000 through the job centre as well. Next slide, please, Katie. And for those that don't know, so the other part of our trading subsidiary arm is a new enterprise which I head up, which is our social recruitment enterprise. So in terms of Kickstart, it sort of made sense for us to register as a gateway organisation. So we're actually running this scheme through our social recruitment enterprise. We are now registered sort of trading fee-based service for social recruitment for employers. We've historically long-term supported employers with open inclusive recruitment. Myself and my colleagues run workshops on open inclusive recruitment and how you can increase the diversity in your workforce. So it's something which I'm really passionate about. And of course, Kickstart is a great opportunity to support young people back into paid employment and give them the opportunities. Next slide, please. Oh, don't know if the next slide's coming. Oh, there we are. Sorry, a lot of words on this. You don't need to read all this, but basically this just captures who Hire to Inspire, our social recruitment enterprise. So in terms of what we offer, so like a high street agency, yes, we offer professional comprehensive recruitment support. My background and my colleagues have been recruitment for a number of years. I've actually retrained in New Zealand as specialising in mental health supportive recruitment employment as well. So between the team, we have experience in a number of sectors, from engineering, industrial recruitment, through to commercial, through to private households, etc. So part of the offer as a gateway organisation we can give to employers, we can give comprehensive recruitment support and understanding, but also the additional understanding and experience in supportive recruitment, social recruitment placements. As Mark said, part of your £1,500 startup, you can obviously decide as an employer how do you want to spend that. We do have additional support to employers if you wish to take that up. So a big part of your application is how do you evidence in-work support, mentoring, etc. for the 6 months. Well, that's what we do at Aspire anyway. So we do have comprehensive in-work support packages that you can buy. There is obviously a fee attached to that. But again, that's something, if you're interested in engaging with Aspire, we can give you more details about that if that comes up. And also part of, I manage obviously vacancies for employers. So we also have an offer for those employers that don't have resource and time. So at the moment, I'm engaging with a number of employers who love the concept of, heard about Kickstart, really want to do it, they're doing it, but they don't have the time to manage their vacancy. We also, obviously, with a fee attached, or part of their startup fee, we can manage your recruitment process as well for you, as well as delivering the in-work support. I think that's probably me, and I'm not sure whether we've got another slide from you, Mark, perhaps.
Yeah, that we've just got some gateway organisations, just some facts from both of you, just to cover off. So we finish off this section. Just reckon we've only got 5 more minutes. Thank you.
So we wrote these FAQs just because whilst we're working with businesses, these are some of the questions that have come up already with them. The first one was, does the gateway organisation find a candidate? Well, actually, this is a yes and a no. On my part, no. The job centre coaches would deal directly with the businesses that come under our application. So any candidates that the job centre coaches were to highlight or to identify as being suitable for your role, they would push directly to you in order to then follow your recruitment process, so interview and then offer, etc. Emily, on the other hand, as you just mentioned, does offer that service, so is able to then support you as a business in that recruitment element of the role.
I think also, yeah, just in terms of we can manage the vacancy, the candidates still go through the job centre, but likewise, if we're supporting a young person, they can contact their work coach on their journal, I believe, if that's correct, John or James, And so there might be some Work Ready Aspire participants that will apply for your vacancies. Obviously, we'll know them and we can support them as well.
That kind of goes on to the next question, really. We've had a number of employers come to us saying that they already have someone they know, and can they go directly and use the Kickstart scheme? No, they're not eligible. As Emily just said, they have to come through the job centre. So it might be someone that is already, you already know, but they're already in the job centre, in the job centre sort of scheme at the same time. But they do have to be referred via a job centre coach. So if that person isn't already in the process of being part of that job centre scheme, then they're not going to be
Sorry, Mark, we just lost you there.
Oh, good.
Just lost you. Do you want to just repeat that one quickly?
Yeah, just so I was just saying that the candidate does have to come via the job centre. You can't go out and find a candidate yourself and then put them onto the Kickstart scheme. It might be, as Emily said, it might be that the person is already involved with the job centre. They're already in that system, and you know them that way, and that they can access the Kickstart scheme because they're already in the process of being part of the job centre. But if it's someone that you've identified and you've found and they're not part of that job centre environment already, then they're not going to be eligible for the Kickstart scheme. The question we have is, are we involved in the management or induction of the employee? No, they're your employee. After you've interviewed them, you will offer them the role as you would any other employee, and you would then manage and induct them yourself. It's not something that we as a Gateway organisation will be involved in. As we said, there are various ways that we can be involved in, if that's to do with offering additional training or work ready training or part of the recruitment process, as Emily said, but the actual management of the person is down to you as a business, as you would manage any other employee of your business. Can we as the Gateway organisation help you meet the placement criteria? Yes. Emily, do you want to say how you do that?
Yeah, I'm just seeing a note actually, Sally. I don't know if you're there. I think time-wise we're sort of.
Yeah. Do you want to just quickly answer that question, and then we've just got a couple of slides. So I'm just conscious of time. So, Emily, if you'd like to just respond.
Yeah. So, what can the Gateway organisation help to meet the placement criteria?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to read your question. Can we? Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of what we do, yes. I mean, Mark, you said it's obviously quite a lengthy, conversation initially in the first instance with an employer, and obviously in terms of my recruitment offer, we'll obviously support you with understanding your business, and then we can manage the candidates and applications to try and get you the best fit for you, dependent on who's sent through from DWP.
John and James said about the fact that you can't, if you're under 12 months of training, you can't access the Kickstart scheme. And just the last one, because it was one that came up, if the person shows poor performance or leaves, then they're treated as any other employee. So you would go through the same process as if you had an employee who was either performing poorly or that they leave. You deal with them in the same way. Sally, over to you.
Thank you so much, everybody, so far. If you are really conscious of time, we are at 1:45. If you have got any questions, please pop them in your chat bar. We've got some contacts which, if we can't respond, then you can certainly email for questions. Katie, would you mind just going on to the next slide, please? So we've got supporting links. Sorry, go back on that one. Government Kickstart resources and list of Gateway organisations. This presentation will be popped up on our website, and we'll send it to all of you as well. And also, just to remind you, this is being recorded, so if you do need to go back to it at any point, then it's accessible via the Oxlep YouTube channel. Next slide, please, Katie. And finally, just to let you know, There is our own programme to help SMEs up to 249 employees with their skill support. This can include support with Kickstart, upskilling, reskilling, apprenticeships. The consultancy value is £1,800. That's the email address if you'd like to know more, skills@oxfordshirelep.com. There's also some free workshops coming up, encourage your people to learn, and leadership and management. That's happening, encourage your people to learn is this month on the 17th and 19th, and the leadership management is next January. And they're both lunchtime and also breakfast, bite-sized, to make it easy for you to be able to access. So very quickly, next slide, please, Katie. Any questions, Mel, for us to answer as a panel?
Yeah, we do have a couple of people happy to just stick around for a few minutes. I think some of them were addressed by the frequent asked questions from Emily and Mark anyway, so thank you. But one or two. Is it possible for a client employer to put in an application through 2 different gateways at the same time?
Mark and Emily? Oh, sorry, John. Sorry, James, is that you? Would you like to answer that
yes.
one?
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
was just going to say it is possible. The way it seems to be working behind the scenes is that there will be some kind of a QA and comparison process going on when the vacancies are loaded. So it shouldn't be possible for the same vacancy to be loaded from 2 different gateways. So you can put your offer in through more than one gateway.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
One further question that we haven't addressed. If somebody has a specific level of skills that they need, so a graduate role, for example, is it possible to specify that in the requirements for the role? Can you say what level of person that you need to do a job?
It's a job specification, so yes, you specify what you want. And bear in mind that the ethos of the Kickstart scheme is really to help people who are more disadvantaged. Now, there will be some candidates who are potentially graduates who could be in scope for matching against Kickstart vacancies. But if you design your offer keeping that in mind, that we really want to help people who need that extra help and are unlikely to have as many opportunities without Kickstart, I would urge you to do that. So you can sort of specify that you're looking for a graduate, but you're going to be fishing from a smaller pool, and B, really we want to make sure that the majority of the offers are going to support people who have more disadvantages in applying for jobs.
Thank you. That's all the questions that we hadn't addressed. But if anybody does think of anything or have any other thoughts, please email. You can see the email addresses there, and send us your questions, and we'll respond to you after this event. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, and thanks so much for attending. Just like I said at the start, there is going to be a quick survey. We really do value your feedback. I know you get fed up probably with so many surveys, but we do like to hear how successful this has been for you, if there's anything that you still would like to know, and also if there's any other webinars you'd like to hear from us. So thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you so much for our panelists for joining us today, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.